Current state of gaming is concerning, to say the least. New AAA titles are very bloated, poorly optimized, expensive games, which just feel like a cash grab. Meanwhile, the cost of a decent computer has seemingly never been higher, even though meaningful performance improvements are super rare now. Yet, are things really worse than they were before? To find out, I have built a mid-range gaming PC from 2005. Through this system, we can see how far we have come and how far maybe we have fallen. This computer is built on Intel Socket 478, which expectedly has a Prescott Pentium 4. Motherboard used is the same mid-range Alpatron board, which although is not special in any way, it has a solid 865p chipset, which is important for this build. For RAM, I have installed 2GB of it. The GPU I used is a GeForce FX 6600. This graphics card was a solid mid-range option back then, which offered you performance of a flagship from previous generation, yet at a very reduced price. And if we add up prices of these parts, we can see that this build would have cost you about $950 back then. And in 2025, you can still build a mid-range computer for about the same $1,000, and that's without adjusting for inflation. So far, prices look similar. Yet, there's a bit more detail to the story. Starting off with gaming benchmarks. GTA 3 from 2002 expectedly ran well. With maxed out settings and at native resolution, this game was only limited by the frame limiter. Need for Speed Underground 2, the most demanding game of 2004, which brought all computers to their knees at the time, actually ran decently, getting about 30 FPS on the high settings. Pushing it further to 2005, Half-Life 2 also ran well, getting about 50 FPS on high settings, though my copy of the game had some serious issues with textures. Need for Speed Most Wanted from 2005, yet another next-gen title, took a hit for the first time, running at medium-ish settings with FPS close to 30, but not quite reaching this mark all the time. GTA San Andreas, with high settings and at 800 by 600 resolution, ran at the frame limiter most of the time, but dips could happen. Now, skipping 1 year and coming straight into 2007 with Need for Speed Pro Street, and our computer does begin to struggle. On the lowest settings, in 480p resolution, this game ran at anywhere from 24 to about 30 FPS. And now for the boss battle, Crysis. The game which told most of the people that their PC is now obsolete, has told us the same thing. On the lowest settings, in 800 by 600, it has gotten about 20 frames per second. Likely, the game can be tweaked through the config file to get 5 more FPS, but even then, it will be a rough experience. Though something newer, yet casual, like Minecraft 1.8.9, which was released in 2015, actually does run well on a computer like this, meaning that casual gaming was still possible on one of those builds for many more years after Crysis came. And so we have a system which ran games from 2004 till about 2007. In other words, it lasted for 3 years. In contrast to something like a GTX 1060, which still kinda holds on, it does sound quite wild. And processors also show a similar pattern. Pentium 4 became obsolete as soon as the first Core 2 Duo was released, and when games actually started to require dual-core CPUs. And in contrast, many quad-core processors, even from a decade ago, are still usable today. And that begs the question, if today's hardware lasts way longer, and technically it has not gotten any more expensive, surely that means things have improved? Well, not exactly. In the mid-2000s, generations of games would only take 1 or 2 years to change. So, in other words, here's how Need for Speed Underground 2 from 2004 looks like, and here's how Crysis looks. And in 2007, essentially when Crysis came, we could already buy a computer with a quad-core CPU and Nvidia's 8000 series cards which had support for DirectX 10. If you bought one of those systems and compared it directly to our gaming PC, well, our new computer would be about 10 times faster, which is absolutely wild. And games fully utilize this power. They felt like they were from a new century. And in comparison to now, improvements in graphics over the last 5 years have been far more modest. You would be hard-pressed to find a graphics difference between Red Dead Redemption 2, which came out almost 6 years ago, and something like Spider-Man 2. Graphics cards manufacturers have also adapted to the way new games are being made. For example, Nvidia, which at this point only pushes DLSS and fake frames as their main marketing point, even though those features were originally introduced to allow you to play at higher resolutions without a big performance loss, or as a way to save your old graphics card. Take a look at the RTX 4060 for example. It launched only about 2 years ago, and even right now, it struggles to run new games above medium settings without upscaling. We have reached a point where modern hardware may age just as fast as it did 2 decades ago, yet games still look about the same, but they tend to run worse each year, which begs the question, what is the point of upgrade? Our 20-year-old computer did become obsolete quickly, in just 3 years, but not because it was designed to. Modern GPUs especially will likely age just as fast, but for a different reason. And those aren't problems with engineering in any way, those are purposeful design choices, which are meant to shorten the usable lifespan for those cards. And if this trend continues, we have not just stalled, we're actually moving backwards, to the point that we will get the worst from both worlds. We will get hardware obsolescence rate from 2000s, along with marginal graphical improvements from generation to generation of the 2020s. Thank you for watching, leave a like or dislike, subscribe, and leave a comment if you have something to say about this topic.